don't understand why no one is talking about this. The Senate has released their summary of the National Defense Authorization Act, which would require women to register for the draft. This is big, okay? The House has already passed the National Defense Authorization Act. The Senate is now putting theirs forward, which includes requiring women to register for the draft. National Defense Authorization Act would require women to register for selective service. Rep. Roy responded to the news, writing, quote, "You can go straight to hell over my dead body." The U.S. Senate Armed Service Committee version of the NDAA for fiscal year 2025 would automatically register women for the draft. Heck, they don't even got to do it. They're forced to do it. The committee approved the bill with a vote of 22-3. The Strengthening the Joint Force and Defense Workforce section of the NDAA says the Military Selective Service Act would be amended to require the registration of women for selective service. Since 1917, when the Selective Service was created, all men ages 18 to 25 have been required to register. However, there has not been a draft since the Vietnam War. Must Read Alaska reports in 2017, Congress created a commission to study the matter of adding women to the draft. The commission's final report required by the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act recommended that women be drafted. This is a necessary and fair step, making it possible to draw on the talent of a unified nation in a time of national emergency, the 11 commissioners wrote in their final report. The effort has failed in previous years, versions of the NDA, but this year it looks like it may pass. Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, a Democrat, has been one of the biggest advocates of adding women to the selective service. Republicans, including Rep. Chip Roy of Texas and Senator Mike Lee of Utah, have been pushing back forcefully. I'm with Democrats on this one. I am 100% with the Democrats on this one. I don't understand why Republicans think it's okay that women get civic privileges without civic responsibilities. And so long as we have a 19th Amendment, women must be drafted. And I will add, drafting doesn't mean combat. Doesn't mean you put the women on the front line. They can do tons of different jobs, like janitor or chef, cook,
officers.
They can do daycare, right? They can do all of these jobs and not fight.
I think women going to combat would be a terrible idea, and I think they're, potentially, in wartime, maybe you need more bodies to do sort of administrative stuff at home, but generally, I think drafts are for boys, and I think it's a bad idea to mix women in because they'll just end up competing for the right to be in combat, and that's a bad idea because it risks everyone's life.
Telling women that they have to machine parts for tools does not mean the debate. I don't like these arguments where people say if X, then you are guaranteed to get women in combat. When we say women should be required to engage in some kind of civic service in the time of national emergency, whether you want to have a debate over combat is still an entirely separate conversation. And if women want the right to vote, then they are going to war. And that means making guns in factories. That means driving transport vehicles, transporting domestically, maybe delivering cargo. Men can go and fight, and women can drive trucks transporting weapons and munitions to military bases domestically.
I'd be happy to do all of that, and I'd be happy to draft women to do it, but I don't think it should be the military because I don't think afterwards they should be able to qualify for the GI benefits. If you went to war, if you have seen combat, I think you should be treated differently than someone that we intentionally said, you have to do it, but you get to stay in a factory. That's a totally different thing. I'm happy to set up a civic service corps for women that they have to be drafted into, but I don't think that they should be in the military because, again, the military comes with benefits.
There's also there was a lot of just inherent danger to women beyond what is dangerous to men in the military, the kinds of things that they have to deal with as threats. I mean, there's certain types of assault that men typically are not subject to. There are, the fact that people might go out of their way a little bit more to save a woman than a man. There's a number of reasons that this can be risky. I actually really like the idea of a civil service corps. Going back to Starship Troopers, everybody memes on the movie, but the book is serious. And I think that the idea of citizenship, and service is a good point. That said, I do worry that if we have a draft for women, part of the reason we were so successful in World War II is that women were able to fill the roles that men typically had back home while the men were over fighting. And I would worry that if we drafted them directly into the military, we wouldn't have the workforce we need.
Let me give a shout out to Josie, the redhead libertarian, who said, "Here are the names of the sluts for war who want to conscript your daughters for World War III because they know your sons won't be enough to satisfy their bloodlusts." Wow! Tell us how you really feel, Josie. Nope, I'm still Democrats on this one. I reject the notion that there are second-class citizens in this country. Men should not be forced to die for other people who don't have the same responsibilities. I reject it outright. Now, that being said, if you want to negotiate rights and privileges versus and how civic duty operates, then we can have that conversation. I reject Mazie Hirono and Kristen Gillibrand and Jean Shaheen, who I'm assuming is a woman. They have no right to vote for war if they're not subject to it. So my position is, so long as we have a 19th Amendment and we have female politicians who can't vote on when I have to die, I say, so do they. Now, unfortunately, and let's be real, all of the members of Congress are too old to be drafted. So even the men are voting for young men to go and die for them. And I think that's wrong. And I love that back in the early 1900s, there was like an attempted amendment that said, if you vote in favor of war, you volunteer for it automatically.
I like that.
That's what I want to see. I want to see this. How about we say this? Okay, no women for the draft, compromise, no women for the draft. But any politician who votes for any kind of war provision has volunteered for it.
Yeah. In ancient Rome, senators led armies. Hell, in the medieval period, bishops led armies. And these guys are sitting back in D.C. in a nice air-conditioned office while there's a bunch of guys my age and younger getting shot at in the Middle East, in the desert. I like the idea of forcing them to go.
When was the last time Congress voted on war, though? Like, that becomes, if you have that amendment, it's not that we shouldn't, I would be interested in it, but theoretically, they're all just going to be like, okay, we'll never vote for war again. Obama, send us in, don't say anything.
Right, and that's why I'm saying, right now, the funny thing is, you have Republicans arguing, this is so annoying. When the suffrage movement happened, there was a massive movement against it because women did not want civic responsibility like fire brigade and military service. And so they said, no way, dude. And so the compromise was spineless, weak men decided to grant privileges to women and create and push men into a second-class citizen status where they have to fight and die for people who can vote for them to go fight and die. I don't care if you're a man or woman. I don't care if it's based on gender lines or any other lines. The idea that one group of people gets to vote for the other group to go fight and die, I think is wrong. And so whether it's the rich and the poor or men and women, I reject that. And this is the problem we've always had first in the country, is that the poor people are used as cannon fodder. Rich people, if their kids got drafted, they would pay to get someone else to go do it. I don't like that as well. But to be fair, at least there's still like a free market thing going on. Some rich dude says, you go take my son's place, I'll give you a ton of money. And they could say no. And they just say yes because they want the money. So it sucks, but it's not as coercive. You're offering someone something in exchange. With this and women's suffrage, they basically said all women can now vote to go send men to die on their behalf. Okay, now hold on. Men used to choose to go fight wars on behalf of the women they cared about, their children, their families. Now you've got crackpot, psychopath, just sociopath individuals in Congress, and men and women alike, voting to send people to go die for what? Ukraine? For war? For oil in Syria? So what's pissing me off right now is Republicans being like, we will not allow our daughters to be drafted, but they will get all of the rights, they will get all of the privileges, and they have no responsibility. Except taxes, I guess. I'm like, nah. Like, you want equality, you get equality. Right now, it's going to be really weird, too, because a bunch of, Gen Z women are probably going to be on the Republican side on this one.
Yeah.
Well, you see all the memes that come up where it's like, women required to be in draft and women, and they're all, it's like feminists and they're all making sandwiches or whatever. Like, I don't think women always think through the things that they're asking for in terms of legislation. I think that this idea that they already have the option to go into the military. They already have the option to try and be a part of civil service. Mostly what's happening is they're saying, well, we want to be allowed to, but we don't actually feel any obligation to contribute to these communities.
There was a poll done a couple of years ago, in 2021, that found the majority of Democrats and 18 to 39-year-olds were in favor of women being drafted.
So, this may be a hot take, but I just don't think there should be any draft at all. Ever, unless it's like we're being attacked. I'm sorry, but if we need to go over there, we never need to go over there. We can stay here. That is an option. We have the greatest Air Force in the world. We also have the second greatest Air Force in the world. It's in our Navy. We don't need to go anywhere. We can stay here. We do not need a draft. We have an all-volunteer army. if we have that, I don't see any reason to have a draft. If we get attacked, if Russia or China come here, sure. But
that's why we need a draft. So the issue of whether we need a draft is unrelated to the fact that we have corrupt government officials that would exploit a draft to go send people to die so that they could, I don't know, build more weapons and secure oil so they can expand their businesses or something like that. We should be focusing on securing our borders, bringing jobs back here, having strong community, building families. Instead, you get the Democrats, and it's really obvious why they want to draft women. World War III is a coming, baby. Ukraine is spiraling out of control. Russia seems to be winning. Now Russia's offering up a ceasefire because they've secured the Donbass. And then you've got the Red Sea is lighting up. Iran is on the verge of lighting up. China and Taiwan. And the Democrats have plans to go to war. Trump and the MAGA Republicans, the populist right wing, don't want to go to war. So they're like, we don't need this. We don't. But I will just point out, you can't have a society where you create classes of privileges and rights. It doesn't work. It's going to break down. You cannot have social services and open borders. You cannot tell people you can come here and get free stuff, and the people who were born here, who have paid into the taxes their whole lives, their family did, will now not have access to the housing market. These things do not work. There has to be balance in your responsibility and the rights and privileges you have access to.
I think part of it is that people look at men and women as interchangeable. They're like, a body's a body, just put it in uniform and it's the same thing.
So I would imagine that these Democrats are looking at the numbers. I'm willing to bet that when they look at combat numbers and female infantry, I would bet a large sum of money that a strategist comes in and says, when you get a group of men, you will see, like, here's if we've got 30 enemy combatants in this area, you will need X amount of men with this machinery to effectively control and pacify that area. With women, you're going to need X cubed or something. Like you're going to need X times X. You will need substantially more men. The efficiency of female units of comparable numbers will be minus 30%. And the response from Democrats is, so we need more women then. Right? Sending wave after wave of your own men into combat to get the job done. More cannon fodder gets the job done. They don't care about the human lives behind it. All they know is, look, 100 men get the job done or 150 women. Okay, get more women. That's it, load it up. And they're complaining about this recruitment shortfall as the reason why they need to do it. Hey, look, man, I think this is the fastest way to get Gen Z voting Republican. I don't see how Gen Z women can stand by the Democratic Party, but apparently Democrats love women in the draft.
I do think if Trump hammers this, it's over for Biden, because the only people affected by this are Gen Z. Literally nobody else is affected by a draft right now.
Well, Gen Z women.
Well, but men too.
But they're already screwed.
Exactly, yeah. But I think a lot of, if you came in, you're like, hey, let's just get rid of it entirely, or let's restrict it to we have to be under attack here at home. I think you get all the Gen Z men too, because
Gen Z male feminists being like, but I'm fighting for your right to be drafted. Come on, this is for you.
That's gonna be Harry Sisson. All over Harry and Chris. They're gonna be like, no, you guys don't understand. It's gonna be great. You're gonna get all sorts of like college benefits and stuff.
And they're gonna die. And they're gonna be like, you're gonna learn how to use guns, which we want to ban. It's like, okay. Yeah, you get college benefits by force.
I would love to see both of those two drafted. That would be very funny.
Harry's 21.
Yeah.
He's first in line. He's not literally, I think they go like 18-year-olds first, but he's like right up there. And, look, if Trump wins right now, Harry's good.
Mm-hmm.
If Harry is successful and Biden wins, I mean, it's 18 to 26, I think?
25.
Are you sure it's 25?
That's what it said on the...
I know, I think that might be wrong. It's 26 now.
I think that I'm in the range.
Right. And so that means if Biden wins another term and war really does break out, the draft's coming, Harry's on the front line. And I mean it. Now, he'll get protection. He'll get special protection. But they will absolutely force him onto the front lines. No question. It's going to be, I describe it like Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. He's going to be like, but I'm just like a social media influencer guy. And they're going to be like, yup, and we need you to sell this. Mm-hmm. We need young people to not flee to other countries, to not dress up like women. Well, that doesn't work anymore. Now they're saying if you are a trans woman, you are still male and you are still required to be signed up for the draft. Yeah, it's funny. And they said if you are a female who is transgender and you're a trans man, you are still ineligible for the draft.
Interesting.
Yeah, military doesn't care. They're just like, dude, if you're a dude, you're in. We don't care what you think you are.
Is there any person born female who transitions to being male who is lobbying to be in the draft? I would love to see
Probably.
that.
There probably are a few.
It's all Democrats that are supporting women in the draft.
Women have to support women, you know, right to the draft.
There are a bunch of trans men who are in the military. Like, it happens. And the military actually offers, I'm pretty sure, like, this was a big controversy.
There are a ton of gender transition stuff.
So, they're all about it. I don't know, man. Look, we got this fractured, fragmented society. I can't call it a country anymore. So I don't even know what's going on.
I know if it comes to it, I'm joining the Air Force. Like if World War III kicks off, I'm joining the Air Force. I'm going for a PR role. I do not want to be fighting in Europe for people who would not fight for me here.
Air Force, dude. Space Force. Yeah, Space Force. Because then you're going to be in one of the domestic military bases looking at computer screens. Granted,
Hang out in Colorado.
For the Air Force, a lot of the drone operators is all remote anyway, so.
It's the cushiest basic training. It's the cushiest salaries. I'll take it.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
You're fine.
Yeah, if it comes to the next 6 months, I'm screwed.
That's right.
Told me
You
that
better just cross your fingers, Trump wins.
Yeah, you're making this a hard bargain for me. Now I'm voting for my life.
If this passes, I'm telling you right now, the next president's going to matter even more so with Russia and Cuba again. With everything that's been destabilized around the world with the weak leadership in this Oval Office and actually part of the uniparty that's warmongers to begin with, this is going to matter to women of military age at that point. This is going to matter to women who want to get married, want to settle down, become a mother, who are now potentially going to have that ripped away from them from a uniparty who wants to go to war for profit. And this is going to be a huge red wave for Trump in November to undo this. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's my prediction. If this passes, Trump wins, but instead of winning, he'll win the popular vote. Like, not only will he win the Electoral College, he'll win the popular vote by several million votes if this passes, because Gen Z women are going to go to college, they're going to get married, they're going to become mothers. They're not going to go.
Is it going to pass? I do not see how this doesn't pass. I don't know. Manchin, maybe?
Well, didn't he vote for it in the committee?
What, really?
I thought.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
he did vote for it.
He did, but
you know who
totally passing.
You know who we might get is Fetterman, because that man is a loose cannon at this point.
no one can predict what he's about to do.
No way, dude. He's for it 100%. He's going to be like, Israel needs to support.
That's true.
Yep.
I think
Ladies, line up.
I think the other problem though is like we're gonna draft basically anyone who has the potential to save our declining fertility rate, right? Like we're gonna be like,
Maybe that's
we
the plan,
could
yeah.
grow the population, but we could also blow them up. So maybe that's a good idea. Like I don't understand what the long-term thinking on this is at all.
Well-
You can't just keep being like, but feminism.
this is going to force the narrative. Are we or are we not biologically different? This is going to force that narrative. The feminists that have been trying to, carve out women's rights for all these years are now being faced by being canceled as women, whether it be sports or now being forced into the military. This is going to force the argument, are we biologically different? Not far as rights, but far as biology. And this is going to force that fight. This is going to force them to answer, because he just said that they're already saying, if you're born a dude, sorry, you can't identify as a woman in the military, you're still a dude. So, it's already forcing that narrative to come to light. And at the end of the day, I think common sense is going to prevail, and it's going to be a red wave for Trump. And I think we're winning our friend over here, because I'm sorry,
When you make it about whether I live or die, yeah, I get it.
Now hold on. I just understand. The draft doesn't stop at 26.
Oh, yeah.
It's just your first in line. So the way it would work is they're going to go for the 18-year-olds, and it's going to be, I think how they do it is like a lottery. They'll go by social security number and pull random, and then numbers,
Right.
and then they go up in age by requirement. So getting to 26 would be really crap. If World War III happened, okay. But here's the good news: if you turn 27 and Biden is still president, oh, dude, line up. 27 is not far off from the rest of them. So if they go through the standard batch, and I got bad news for you, fertility rates are down, so there's not nearly as many Gen Z available as there were, say, Millennials or Boomers or Gen X.
And we're hilariously out of shape.
Oh, yeah, but that doesn't matter. They're going to be like, dude, let me tell you, it was really amazing. The story of the fall